Welcome everybody to one of, I believe is going to be one of my favorite videos, because today's video is going to be all about the Jeep. So I'm going to be taking you guys on a little walk around, showing you everything that we have done to the Jeep, all the modifications we've done so far, and the number one requested item, my parents' air conditioner just kicked on. Okay, so I'm gonna have to go ahead and film. It is a hot day here in southern Missouri. That's gonna be running probably all day. Anyways, hopefully it's not gonna be messing up the sound. We'll continue. If you don't know, if you're here to just check out the Jeep, we are a family of 6. We're Loftis Party of 6, obviously. We live in an RV, Class A motorhome, traveling across the country, and this is gonna be our tow vehicle. This is gonna be the vehicle that's gonna, once we get to a location, is gonna take us adventuring, take us to go grocery shopping, everything that we want to go see. This is what's going to do it. So how are we going to fit 6 people in this Jeep? Well, whenever I first started researching, I just Google searched third row in a Jeep Wrangler. I found information, I found how people were doing it, and so I made modifications for my own to work for me, because everybody has done this differently. There are different resources and tools and parts out there to do this, and I did kind of work off of those, but again, this is my own modification. This is what I found that is going to work best for us, and so I'm going to be showing you guys that process today, right now. So I hope you enjoy. Let's begin. Okay, so to start off, I'm just going to walk you around the Jeep and kind of show you some of the modifications that we have done so far and explain them and why we did them. So the very first thing I done when we got the Jeep was I took it into the shop and had them put on bigger tires. The other ones were a size 32-inch tall tire. These are roughly a 35-inch tall tire. So it's just going to give us more ground clearance to keep us from dragging on any rocks as we begin any of those off-roading adventures. Now the tires that I went with, they're called BF Goodwrench KO2s. They are an all-terrain tire, so the ones I had on previously were a mud terrain, which those after time, they don't wear very well. They're loud on the road, and this being an all-terrain is going to be great for it being towed behind the motorhome, as well as once we get to locations when we're going off-road. I'm really excited about these tires. They had great reviews, and so I'm excited to see how they perform and how they handle once we're being towed and once we're using it for off-road. So something else that we did was when we put on these larger 35-inch tires is that my tires were actually rubbing right here. And so I had to buy wheel spacers. You see that blue? That is a wheel spacer. I had to buy a 1.5-inch wheel spacer from SpiderTrax. They are the most reputable as far as what I've seen online. So they're about $100 a pair. I use Loctite, the red Loctite on it. So I have checked them down to the foot-pound torque of what it requires in the manual. I've already done that after driving it for 50 miles, so we're good there. Everything's good. I will recheck them later on as time goes on. Now, of course, I had to go through and also make sure that this Jeep is going to be able to be towed behind the Class A motorhome. So we had to install all of our tow hitches, tow bars, all the electrical things to make sure that it'll work properly and legally behind the motorhome. Now, because this is the Jeep Rubicon, this is the top dog as far as Jeep is concerned, as far as off-roading goes. This comes with so many features that just your normal Jeep does not come with, and so they are off-road ready right off the factory showroom floor. Other than tires, probably want to do a lift, things like that, to just give you a little bit more ground clearance. And while I mentioned lift, I did put a very small lift in this. Now, I do want to upgrade to a much beefier, stronger, really a more off-road suspension. But for the time being, because I was short on time, I found a guy who was actually selling a 2-inch spacer lift on Facebook Marketplace. And then I reached out to some guys on a Facebook group page that I joined. It's called Ozark's Jeep Thing, and said, hey, I bought this lift. Is anybody able to install it for me? A couple of really great guys messaged me right away, and I took it over there that day and had them install it, and they did it so fast. Those guys knew exactly what they were doing. If you're not sure what a spacer lift is, basically you're keeping your stock suspension, but the only thing you do is you put like this rubber suspension, and it goes right up here. So you put those on, gives your Jeep a 2-inch lift. And of course we was going to put a soft top on, but yeah, soft top would not work. because of this bar. Now I'm going to be explaining this bar, the significance of it, because this is an aftermarket piece. This is not from stock. When you buy your Jeep, it comes with basically this bar at an angle. Well, because we are going to be putting the kids in the third row, their heads would be in this position, about right in through here. Actually, let me show you a little bit better. The kids' heads would be kind of like in this position right in through here. Well, if there was ever a worst case scenario, the Jeep rolled over, well, because of the way the bars originally are with this angle, well, that's where this comes into place. This is actually made by Rockhard 4x4. They make this, it's called a third row roll bar. This is just another safety precaution that I decided to make. It's one of the best safety precautions that I decided to make when we decided to go with a Jeep, because I knew that we was going to be doing off-roading. I knew that we were going to be spending a lot of time with the top off, and I wanted to make sure the kids were protected whenever that was the case. So this bar was pretty easy to install. Didn't take me too long. I did have to prep it and paint it because it came bare steel. But then it just kind of, it's got these clamps that are up underneath here, but it just bolts on. Pretty easy, not that difficult. And because it goes underneath your factory cloth on your roll bar, you can't zip this back up. So all I did was find some black zip ties and just zip tie it tight, and it worked. Okay, so let's begin talking about the third row. This has been the most requested item up for discussion for today, is how we are going to fit a third row in here, how we're going to do it, how we're going to make it safe. So let me show you. So one really cool thing really quickly, your Jeep, if you get one, comes with a mat in the back. One side's carpet, the other side's this really cool rubber that has the Jeep logo. So I made sure and flip this around because it's going to be much more durable with the foot traffic that's going to be back here. And it's also going to keep the carpet clean, which I like. So in the back of your Jeep, you've got these points here, and these are cargo loops to just tie down cargo in the back of your Jeep. What I did was I drilled holes out in 2 of those areas, drilled them all the way through so that I could fit a larger bolt through it. So drilled that out on both sides, and then up here in the front, right here, this is where this seat bolts down and is secured. And so I'm going to show you how we're also utilizing that. Okay, so here's the frame that the seat is going to be sitting on. This is a custom made thing. I took a couple videos from YouTube to a local welder here in town, and I showed him what I'm wanting to do, and he fabricated this himself. So this is custom. This isn't anything that I ordered or did anything like that. Now you can order, I believe it's by TerraFlex, custom brackets that go into on each side of the back of your cargo area back here in the Jeep. The reason I didn't go with that was number 1, price. Number 2 is it requires a lot of cutting and trimming on the carpet and the plastic pieces that are here on your Jeep. And I really just didn't want to do that. I wanted to keep everything back here as factory as possible. So it took this idea to him, he ran with it, and this is what he made. So as you can see, the holes that we had drilled out for the cargo area, he made an extension there just to put a bolt through. Same thing over here, put a bolt through. And then this is where I'm talking about how we came all the way up, and I'm going to be tying into this factory spot to tie into the seat that's up here. And we've got just a factory bolt that's going to go all the way down back into there. Now the seat is going to rest here, here, and it's also going to rest here, and I'll show you the seat here just in a second. So once you get your frame lined up, all I do is just run the bolt all the way down through, and same thing on this side. Now these bolts are hardened steel, but run that all the way down through, and I'll show you what it looks like underneath. Okay, right there's the bolt coming through the body of the Jeep. I've got a backing plate that I'm going to put on there and the nut. Now while this is very tricky to get the backing plate and the nut on there did take some doing, but I do have it on there now. I had to kind of hand tighten it to get it started. Now I've got a 9/16 wrench on it, and down here, and then up here I'm just tightening it down using my socket. Okay, once I've got both bolts tightened down, and I did use some red Loctite, and now it is time to put back in the factory bolt that holds down the back side of the seat. Okay, I got that nice and snug down. This is the only place I had to do any trimming on the whole thing, was just this back mat. Had to trim around that to make sure that we could get that fit on there. Okay, so choosing the proper seat for the third row. Looked online, there was several different people that had different seats. What I wanted was a seat that obviously would seat two people, because I've seen some individual single seats, but it had to fit two people so that Grady and Layla can both sit back here. The other thing was I didn't want it to fill up the whole space, because I want Grady and Layla to be able to get in from the back. So with me opening the tailgate, I want them to be able to get in from back here instead of always climbing over the seats. Because of the fact that we have two younger kids that are still in car seats, I don't want to have to deal with taking those out to get Grady and Layla here in the back. So this seat had to be short enough for them to get in the side, and I'll show you how I did that. This seat is called the BesTop Trail Max 2. This is made by BesTop. This is from a CJ, or it's a replacement seat for a CJ. The CJ's had a little bit of a shorter rear seat than what maybe a TJ had. But on the CJ, whenever we designed this, I wanted to, again, make sure that Grady and Layla, of course I don't have this sitting in place. Hang on a second. Okay, I've got it roughly sitting in place. So Grady and Layla will always come in through here. As I open the tailgate, there is probably a good, I don't know, 7-8 inches that they can squeeze through there. Now, mind you, they're kids under the age of 8. Kind of show you what it looks like from this side. There's definitely enough room for them to squeeze through this hole. Now, a larger seat would fill up this entire gap, and then you wouldn't be able to get anybody back here other than probably crawling over the middle seats. And again, I did not want to do that. So the seat can tumble forward if you want to have space back here. Now the main bracket, the main frame for the seat will remain back here, but it can at least get it out of the way. Now this is actually the bracketry that came with the seat. And so my welder guy welded this to the frame that he created. And all I got to do left is come in here with these clips, basically just a retainer clip, and clip those on. Once the retainer clips are in, I put them on both sides. Once they're in, the seat comes down, snaps right in place here. Now one thing I did goof up on that I did not take into consideration is whenever I just have the seat folded flat like this, my tailgate will not shut. So that was an error on my part. If I would have had this whole seat frame slid forward maybe an inch or two, it would have shut, but you can see right here where the seat's at and where the latch is for the tailgate, it won't work. So it's either going to have to be in the upright position, seat up, or folded all the way forward in order for me to get this tailgate shut. The other thing I goofed on that I did not consider or think about, basically underneath here, this would come up and I cannot access now my jack for if I have a flat. Granted, I have great tires. I don't ever expect to have a flat, although it can happen, but I can't get access to it. Now, I do have a separate jack system. What I just have to remember is that I'll just have to bring it with me whenever we are apart from the motorhome, because I have it in the motorhome. So I don't necessarily need this per se, as long as I bring along the extra jack that I have. So as far as the seat goes, that's it. That's all it takes to actually install the seat. So now let's talk about safety and what I use for seat belts. Big concern whenever I was trying to think of this is how in the world am I going to do the seat belts to where it's safe and secure for our children. And with them being in the back, and again, being exposed, again, really excited about having the roll bar for the added head protection. But still, if there ever was a rollover case, it always scares me thinking, well, what if something happened and the kids can still, you know, get out of their seatbelt system. So what I love about this is from a race car. So these are racing seatbelts. RJS Racing Equipment is who I bought these from. And of course, because we already have the factory red seatbelts, I made sure and got the red seatbelts from them. You can get them in different colors, lots of different colors. But anyway, because the car seat has headrest, which is another safety feature and another reason why I went with the BesTop Trail Max 2 seat, because the headrest is that I can put the shoulder harnesses through the headrest underneath them, have it come through, and then Grady and Layla, just like having a car seat, will be in a 4-point harness that'll go over both shoulders, and then they have the seatbelt part, which they just snap around their waist. What I also like about these seatbelts that I found was that they clip on, so it's for easy removal. We drilled a hole there. Again, same thing on this side, and drilled a hole. But if I ever need to take this seat out, all these seat belts just clip in. Okay, got all the seat belts latched, put into place where they are supposed to be. Now these seat belts come with a lot of excess seat belts. So what I did, because I didn't need as much and because it is kids and, you know, they're just smaller framed, I just rolled up the seat belt and put a zip tie around it. Did that on all 4 of them through here. Now these, I will probably leave them out so that, because once the kids get in here, I always want to make sure that they are snug and tight in here and not loose. So I do want to leave some excess to be able to tighten it up. I don't want to cut anything. I thought, well, maybe you could cut it. I don't want to deal with that. I don't want to mess with the factory of how it was. I don't want to weaken it or do anything like that. So rolling it up was just the best option for me. All right, I got my big man Grady here. How old are you, Grady?
8.
8 years old. And so he's going to show you guys how he gets in the Jeep and buckles up. Now I might have to do a little bit of adjusting to loosen it up if it's too tight. Is it too tight?
Yep. Really tight.
All right, he's all buckled up. Again, he's got the 2 harness over his shoulder and then the lap belt, and it just puts in place. Now again, I can tighten everything up using those latches. If it's not tight enough on his shoulders, I can do that, or around his lap. I use those to do it. Now Layla, she will be right here in her booster seat. I don't have it quite yet ready, sissy, but she would fit here just like Grady, but in a booster, so she can sit up just a little bit taller. So what do you guys think about the 3rd row? Do you like it?
I love it.
You guys excited to ride in it like this?
Yeah.
Especially with the top off, huh? What do you guys think about your...
Wait, what?
What do you think about that bar?
It's cool. Like it's a monkey bar.
Yeah.
Except stronger.
So the point of this bar, Grady, is if we ever rolled over, like if we crashed and we rolled over, this bar would protect your guys' heads. Because, okay, everybody sit like you normally would. See what I mean? Like, this is the original factory bar, and so their heads are behind it. And so this bar gives it extra protection if we ever did, worst case scenario, roll over. Thanks, guys, for showing the demonstration.
You're welcome.
Self out.
And then we're gonna have Chasen or Gabriel up here. I don't know who's gonna be on which side, but they're gonna be up here. So that's how we sit 6 people in a Jeep Wrangler. Tell me what you guys think. Be nice. Don't leave us horrible comments. Listen, I did a very thorough job in researching everything as far as safety goes, because my kids' safety is very important to us. Obviously, they're my kids. I love them deeply. So, which is why I'm really happy we got the roll bar, the seat, the frame, the seat belts, everything I feel confident about in how we did it. So if you guys have questions about anything or want to see additional links or anything about the products that I use to buy everything, I'll have those down below so you guys can check those out. If you want to put a 3rd row in, I highly suggest you get the 3rd row bar. I highly suggest you get a BesTop seat and get these racing seat belts with the clips. It's so easy for just removal if you want to have them removed. Also, because of the fact that I took up all of our cargo room, now it's like, well, where do we put things? I am going to have to buy some sort of a rack system to put on the hardtop. Whenever the hardtop's on, that I can put car seats, coolers, whatever we have up on top of the hardtop for storing. Now, when the hardtop is off, what am I gonna do? Well, I don't know. They actually make a soft top system with a cage. I would love to have. It basically bolts on just like a hardtop would, and the soft top can slide back, and it has a cage system up on top. I might go with that. It's about $1,000 to have that. So I'm still studying on that to see what's best, but I am gonna have to do something because I have no space at all now. Okay, so this concludes the Jeep tour. Now I've got to get the hardtop put back on because we are leaving today, heading on our first adventure, towing the Jeep behind the motorhome for the very first time. So if you want to follow our adventures on Loftis Party of Six, make sure you hit the subscribe button. Also follow us on Instagram so that you can see our daily stories that my wife Lane does, and does a tremendous job of those. If you have any questions about the Jeep, make sure you leave those down in the comments below. We really appreciate you guys watching this video. I hope you have found it very informative if you've been considering putting in a third row in your Jeep. It is doable. It is doable. Just make sure you do it the right and safe way. Thanks guys for watching. Have a wonderful day and God bless.